let's, just for fun, go around the room and see who's here. You want to introduce yourself?
Hey, Deborah Fig Sanders, City of St. Petersburg.
Josh Schulman, the on-time representative from the city of St. Petersburg.
The man in the chair.
Hello, I'm Brad Miller. I'm the CEO of PSTA.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Glad you're here.
Let's start the most popular.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Did you have a good holiday?
Do you?
I did.
Kathleen, we did just kind of start the meeting. We were going around introducing ourselves, so if you would.
Oh, Kathleen Peters, Pinellas County.
There you go. Very good. Welcome, welcome.
Great.
And so at this point, I'd like to open it up to public comment. Do we have any public comment? We do not have public comment. So I'll bring it back, and we are on action item 3A, 2024 board officers. Interest to serve as officer, forms, so who's on our board?
Yeah, so, good morning, everybody. So the, in your packet is a bunch of information about the survey results from the original November call for interest in serving on committees, and then we did another round of it after the last board meeting in December. So you have that interest. We did receive interest, as you recall from the last board meeting, from 2 candidates for treasurer. So the nominating committee previously recommended Chair Gina Driscoll for a second year, and Dan Saraki as a second year as vice chair. And then, as you recall, Renee Flowers was the secretary treasurer, but she's not on PSDA. So then there were 2 nominations, and both Commissioner Fig Sanders and Reed filled out interest forms for secretary treasurer. So I tried to reach Commissioner Jamie Robinson to see if he was interested, and I haven't gotten a response yet. So that's where things stand on the treasurer, and that is the first item to make a recommendation on.
And just for the public's perspective, I know it's kind of on the next slide, but these are board positions for the executive committee. How many people are on the executive committee at this point?
Right, so like all committees of PSDA, they have 5 members, and the executive committee has 5 members. The chair, vice chair, and secretary treasurer plus 2 additional, or specifically, it's the chair, vice chair, secretary treasurer, past chair. If there is a past chair, it's still on PSDA. And 1 additional. But in our case, there is the past chair was Commissioner Long, I think.
No, it's Gerard.
Oh, Gerard, that's right, yeah. Gerard. And so she's not on, so then there's 2 to make 5.
I can't get into my PSTA anymore.
Okay.
I may need a tech personnel or something later. This one.
Yeah, Josh.
Yeah, and I also want to just, for the record, the reason why Brad was asking specifically about Jamie Robinson's interest is because he had served on the executive committee already.
Right.
As opposed to mentioning, well, why don't we talk about this board member or that board member or whatnot? It was specifically because Jamie Robinson had been on the executive committee prior and seeing if he had an interest in moving that forward. So just wanted
What
to make...
position did he have on
He was just on the executive committee.
He was just
didn't have
on it.
Right.
it? So he was one of the just extras.
Correct.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that, I just wanted to mention why he was specifically named as
Yeah.
being
No, I
considered
remember.
as opposed to
Yeah.
any other particular board member.
Yeah. And he served on it for how long?
1 year.
And what did he say?
Well, I couldn't get it, he didn't fill out a form, right? And, I didn't get a response from him, so I assume he's not interested. But we do have two people that did fill out the form.
So, and the two people were Deborah Fix Sanders and Patty Reed?
Yeah,
Okay.
And Deborah Fix Sanders currently, like Jamie Robinson, currently sits on the executive committee.
right.
Right, okay. And that would be a new position for Patty to be not only on the committee, but take up. Officer
So, Deborah, are you looking to be secretary or something, or is that something your committee would decide once they meet?
No, we're deciding that now, to then take to the board for final vote.
Okay, so
We're
we're
nominating a
deciding who's
secretary
gonna be
treasurer.
secretary, they don't say, I wanna be secretary? We don't nominate someone to be secretary?
Oh, she did, she asked.
We've gone through that
They've
whole
submitted
process.
paperwork saying that
Yeah,
they're interested in
yeah.
being secretary
Secretary,
treasurer.
I got it.
She,
Yeah.
Deborah Fix Sanders and Patty Reed both submitted that interest.
I got it.
We are now considering that and putting forward a name to the board as to which one we would recommend to be voted on as being secretary
Although
treasurer.
both are still gonna be on the slate, we're recommending.
Okay, and there's 5 people on there as a tradition.
That's per bylaws, right, our bylaws.
That's
have
in the
5
rules and
people.
regulations to have, each committee has 5 members.
Okay, thank you, I'm just trying to get up to
Yeah,
speed.
understand.
So,
Yeah.
Okay, and so currently we have Gina and Danny. And then Jamie was on it and was still gonna be on it, or?
His email that he submitted October 5th, which is in the packet, says he would like to stay on the committees that he's currently assigned to,
Okay.
and then ask the question of whether or not he needed a form. So he didn't indicate any interest in moving into a different executive position, just that he wanted to remain in the committee that he is already on.
Okay. So if Deborah and Patty all wanna be on the both wanna be on the executive committee.
On the
and
executive committee.
You're on the executive committee, and Jamie is on the, and you still need 5, so we could still put Patty Reed on there, correct?
Right, so I think, I
Yes.
think, and what the suggestion appears to be, and I personally agree with, is moving Deborah Fix Sanders, nominating her for secretary treasurer, since she's already been on the executive committee,
Right.
and then adding Patty Reed to fill that other spot on the executive committee. So she would be on executive, and then Deborah Fix Sanders would be the secretary treasurer.
Okay, I think that's reasonable.
Was that enough? Was that a
Okay, I
motion?
make that into a motion. I move that to be true.
All right, do
Yeah.
we have a
And
second?
I would second that, I think that's reasonable.
All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well
Well,
done.
and also, just to be clear, no one other than the current chair and current vice chair indicated any interest in being in those positions as well.
Correct.
So we're looking at secretary treasurer because that was the choice that we had.
Okay.
I just wanted to state things out loud, so it doesn't.
What's your motion for the, all 3,
I couldn't remember if we already voted. Did we vote?
I don't think we did.
Okay, well then,
Okay.
I would also, since we already voted on that motion, I'd like to make the motion that we keep Chair Driscoll and keep Vice Chair Saraki in their positions as they were last year for next year, or this year.
Second that.
That's an amendment. I
She
guess.
seconded.
I thought it was 2 different.
Well, it's two
We
different
already
motions.
voted on the
Two?
one, so I just added a
It's just
second,
a
Okay,
motion.
second amendment. All right.
since we voted already.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it unanimously.
And then, did you get the second one? I'm sorry, my computer's frozen, I just wanna.
Deborah
Make
Fix
sure.
Sanders had the second.
Okay,
yeah.
okay, cool.
So it's Chair Driscoll, Vice Chair is Saraki, Secretary Treasurer is Fig Sanders. And then Commissioner Reed is member, along with Robinson. And then on to, and are we good?
Yep,
All righty.
Can you go to the next slide? Okay, yeah.
Committee appointments.
Okay, so the next item on our, the next action item on our agenda is to recommend committee assignments. And so what this table shows is at the top is the current, and then down below is a suggested slate of recommended committee assignments based on the surveys. Based on the surveys, and then when we didn't get surveys, the protocol on this slide is to move, if we have a alternate, to move them into the vacant spot and then fill the alternate on here. So, just moving down, we just voted on the makeup of the executive committee. That's already in the bylaws that as you just voted. So then moving to the right, the finance committee.
And I see my name is not on there, Brad, but I certainly do have an interest to
Okay.
stay on this committee and stay chair.
Okay.
Oh, except we're not on, the finance committee.
Yeah, no, on the finance committee, Commissioner Gao is currently on there, and then as of earlier this week,
Yeah, I thought you said you were getting off all of, okay, now you so
I
confused.
know, I know, I know. And that is all me, for the record, it is me. Just,
Okay, well, we want to keep you.
thank
You
you.
know, we don't want you to go anywhere.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I'm confused, I don't know what just happened.
okay, well, earlier this week, Commissioner Gao told me and the whole executive committee that he was maybe interested in stepping down from different committee assignments for his own personal reasons, and then so yesterday I took off the slide his name from the committees, but then he
My bad.
told me this morning, just about 5 minutes ago, that he wants to reconsider.
My mistake, my apologies. And I'm sorry, that is bad, so I do apologize, I'm sorry.
Okay, so
But that still meets the number if we add him back, because there's a vacancy right there on
Consider them alternate.
2024, so it would be Commissioner Gao, Saraki, Shulman, Cox, Reed, and Scott. And that will fill the 2024 positions.
right in red, I is the survey or recommendations, and so in red, Commissioner Scott, as you see up above, is the alternate currently. He would be a member, a permanent member, and then we would not have any vacancies if Commissioner Gao continues to serve.
Right.
So
Right, so-
who's then
so-
is the alternate?
So he's the alternate. I would like to make a change to that and move myself down to alternate
Okay.
and allow Brian Scott to move up to a permanent position or a full position, whatever we want to call it.
Okay. So that.
Okay.
So.
Well, that makes me feel better about so many people on so many committees. Because if you go to be an alternate, then I
I'm still going to show up, right?
No, I know you are, and because I know you are, that's fine, and that's fine, it's just that, is every board member on a committee?
No,
See, that.
I mean, that's the goal.
but that's
yeah.
that's partly
the goal.
not. That's partly their doing, right?
Well,
So
but
Mayor
there should
Perilla
be-
is not.
There should be an expectation that a board member serves on a committee.
I completely agree.
And
Oh, yeah.
so, but if you don't assign them one, then they're getting out of it, and you're not holding them accountable.
What that does is jeopardizes our quorum and enable to move forward and do business.
Right. So if they don't express an interest in being on it and then they don't
You're not
show
gonna
up,
come.
then you don't have a quorum, and that becomes a
So
problem.
tell me who's not on every committee?
Do you have
Commissioner
the page
Petrilla,
that lists all the different?
Mayor Petrilla
Yeah,
from CBB
it's
just
in
not.
there, but I can,
I don't know if it can be pulled up or.
So he's new, he was just appointed by that.
Yeah. And
So-
then I asked him
Like, so
if
we also
he,
have Commissioner Eggers is joining,
He's
right? So
joining.
he needs to.
He should
needs to
be on a
find-
committee.
He needs to find a
he
spot.
does, and I sent him an email and his assistant to find out if he's
Well, they got some things going on, don't they?
yeah.
Chris Latvala only serves as an alternate on one committee. He doesn't serve on any other committees.
No, well now he's a full member of the legislative committee
Okay, so this
as
is
of last meeting.
okay, because I was looking at the January
Yeah, I'm looking
24
at
roster.
this.
It shows that
This
it's
one it
alternate.
says as an alternate, so how did that change? And I said that in the board meeting, that when
Is
you've
that
got
true?
someone who already has relationship not only with elected officials, but the staff that can open doors, that with even a phone call, I just don't think that asset you put as an alternate, that they don't have
Yeah.
to show, they don't.
Well, I would hope that they would want
Is
to
that
do
true?
that without
I'm sorry?
even being.
Chris Latvala, is he an
Yeah.
alternate or a
It
full
just
member of the
depends on
legislative?
your
Well, if,
perception of being an
Commissioner
alternate.
Gao-
Which is
We
why we-
had those conversations.
Oh,
Right,
right.
which is why we
can-
discussed that
he'll
that's not.
continue as an alternate.
Oh, right,
Well,
okay.
can we finish going through the committees first?
Yeah.
Thank you. Because I do have another.
I apologize. Commissioner Latvala, we were gonna recommend if based on Commissioner Gao not wanting to be on the committees, that he would be a permanent member of the legislative committee, but with the new information I received this morning, maybe Commissioner Lavallo would, or we can just talk about that, but later. So the Finance Committee recommendation that I think I just heard was for Commissioner Schulman to move to alternate, Commissioner Scott to be appointed to the Finance Committee.
And if that means that also, because we haven't gotten anything from Commissioner Eggers, correct, given his new appointment?
Right, I haven't heard from him.
Okay.
Have we reached out to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He was on finance
Few
prior,
times.
Did he respond? Oh, okay.
so he was on finance he was on
Before.
finance prior, on his prior appointment. If he's interested in coming back, I can roll off completely, and he can take the alternate position as well.
Is there a space on planning?
There's a space on planning too, yeah. So
Because he
I
had been
gave
on
him all
finance,
the
I wasn't
options.
sure if that's where he wanted to go back, if he was.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of if you have Ryan on finance, that you'd put Dave on planning
Yeah.
versus having two county commissioners on one committee. That's just my thought. I'm not saying that's what we should do. I'm just saying that's my thought.
And I was just trying to go with what I thought his preference might be.
Yeah, well, we can't.
And he might
we
be
don't
like,
know
I was
that.
on finance, I'm never doing it
Yeah,
again,
he
so I have
might,
no idea.
yeah, so we don't know that.
You ready?
But I really like, because you know, I've said many times I have an issue with certain people having so many committees. So I like, Josh, that your suggestion with you being an alternate, that if you're gonna be on 3 committees, one of them you be an alternate. So maybe, other people that have 3 committees, I know Jeff, you do, Deborah does. I would think we're looking at Patty Reed now with 4. I would like to see the mayor have a committee, and hopefully he's gonna show up and not mess with the quorum, but those are the expectations. And so my question to you is, in the, I don't know if it's the act that determines who's on, right? So let's say you get, as St. Pete Beach, so I'm surprised St. Pete Beach even gets to be on there, because they don't, but isn't that in the act?
Yeah.
It's in the act, okay. So, but isn't it lumped in with other cities?
It's part of
It's
the
the
big
whole
city.
beaches.
Right, so if you have an appointed person by all the beaches who's not showing up at the meetings and the committee meetings, could you not then go back to the beaches and say, this person
Yes.
is not attending? Could you give us another recommendation, the interest really?
We changed that in our bylaws just recently, right? It's, to be able to, if there's
Well,
more
so
than 2.
forever, there's been an attendance requirement for the full board meetings. But it's really a sort of difficult provision to enforce,
Yeah.
right? Because
Those bodies can.
what the bylaws say is if you miss 2 unexcused board meetings, then the chair is tasked with writing a letter to the appointing body and asking for a new person. And that has happened in the past, and then it's up to the appointing body.
They can still decide not to change it.
I see,
Right.
I see.
And that's happened in the past. But then what did change
We had a-
just in October with the amendment to the restructuring of the committees, or structuring the committees, is now that attendance requirement is for the committees as well. And in their case, if a board member does not attend their committee, then it just comes back to the PSTA board to pick a new one of the 3 to be on that committee.
So can we sum this up? I'm listening to what everyone is saying. So for the finance, Josh will step to alternate, Scott will move to a member, question mark Eggers, and I guess he needs to be the one to decide if he wants to do finance or planning. When we get to planning, the only change there is to decide whether or not Reed wants to step off of planning, Eggers fills in. Legislative, there's no question. Nominating, the only thing that we would need to do is find out if Ms. Reed wants to remain on that, or if we want to add a new member, that would be the place for the addition, Josh, that you were asking about, the mayor. So, I mean, it's not that hard.
Well, back to finance, though, that if I would like to continue in my role as
Yeah, we
chair.
have you on here as finance.
No,
Yeah.
We have you still on finance. The only question was Eggers, if he wanted to do finance or hearing Kathleen Peters' comment about the two county commissioners, so that would give him a choice between finance and planning. So we need to find out from him which he would like to do. How does that work? Because we're presenting this next week, right?
And 2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you think you'll be able to get in contact with Commissioner Eggers?
Yeah. Well, I can try. I mean,
Okay, Rachel, I think, has something to add to this.
I'm sorry, I just received an email from Commissioner Eggers' office.
Okay,
And he said he is not available to be on any committee.
okay, so that answers that.
Okay.
Which is one reason why I do have reservations on appointing people to the
Right.
committees.
Because if they don't want to do it, they're not going to show up. So
And if they complain they're not involved, it's on them.
right. Okay, thank you for that, and we have the email to
Timing.
confirm that.
I did-
He's watching the nominating committee right now. That's why we were talking about.
I did, I've had 2 conversations with Mayor Petrola about really trying to encourage him to be on a committee. Admittedly, the second conversation where I suggested just try out the nominating committee, it meets only once or twice a year, and was the day after his entire commission resigned, so he was the last person there, so he felt like he didn't know what he was gonna do. So I can have another conversation with him to keep trying, obviously.
And there's also gonna be a new member appointed by to fill
Seminole and
Commissioner
Gulfport.
Oliver's seat,
Right.
so.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of a work in progress, but that,
It looks like finance is done, right?
Yes.
we have to deal with finance. Commissioner Reed, she filled out a form
Yes,
for, also for planning?
yes, she said she was interested in planning and nominating.
Okay.
So is she still interested in finance, and is because
She,
she's listed on finance?
She's a member of the finance.
she's already a member, she didn't say she wanted to be taken off, so.
But her preferences were executive planning and nominating?
Well, it's not really a preference. She's already on finance. She said she wanted to be added to more committees and said she would be interested in the 2 that were vacant.
Oh.
So planning, at the time it was planning and nominating. So she said she would be interested in.
She said she wanted to get more involved.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which we'll see, because also her attendance record was spotty. I mean, she's missed the 2 meetings that we've had so far in finance this year.
She missed 4 in
And 4 in
2023.
the prior year.
Oh.
So I appreciate her desire to be more involved, but that also means not just raising your hand, it means actually showing up and being involved.
Yeah, well, sometimes you don't know what goes on in somebody's life. for
I
some
agree.
period of time. So, that might have been then, and this may be now if she's got.
That's why I said I
passion.
hope it's
Yeah.
more than just, I want to be involved, and I'm going to be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm
expressing a
really
desire to
disappointed
that
in
work
you know,
out.
Commissioner Eggers, that's disappoints me.
Okay, so the planning seems to be an easy transition committee, and I know that we're waiting on 2 more new members, correct?
Mhm.
So why don't we put, instead of Ms. Reed being there, hold that for one of the new positions for them to fill that slot, because that would still give her 3 committees. Because I think you're okay with legislative.
Well, you want to, for the planning committee, have the new member, assuming that Commissioner Eggers does not want to be on the committee, then it would be the new member replacing Dr. Oliver on the planning committee. And then, and Commissioner Reed, Patty Reed, to be the alternate?
Alternate, yeah, I would say that. 'Cause she was on the committee.
Yeah.
Okay, that works for me. Any other?
So you're saying keep the official position open, and then put Commissioner Reed as an alternate for planning?
For a new member to come in that's coming. Because how many new members are we expecting, new board members?
2.
2.
Well, 1.
Commissioner Eggers plus 1 other.
Right, I took him off because he just said he didn't want to be on
He said he
any.
wanted to be
So
on any.
one. Well, and we don't have anybody else that has a desire to fill that spot.
Right.
Correct. So it just
Yeah.
stays open until,
Until someone comes in, and then that planning committee will be an easy transition.
right.
Now, just wonder, I was just wondering how she's gonna view that when it comes to the board, and you know, she was put as an alternate when there's an open
But we can
permanent
leave her
spot,
on
but.
and let the new person be the alternate. I may have no real preference.
You know, I'd rather make her permanent if she's.
Okay.
I mean, ideally, the whole reason that we had alternates was, one, to have people be able to fill in for a quorum, but also to give an opportunity, right? Like, even though I'm on a bunch of committees, I didn't start, I was alternates on these things, and I moved up over time as things opened up, and you gain that knowledge and experience, but.
Well, then let's do that. Just be the alternate open for that, for whoever wants to transition to start in that committee. And then just keep Ms. Reed as a committee member.
Yeah,
In order to keep track of this, would you like to have them vote on each committee, maybe?
Each committee separately.
Well, I've been writing it all down, I mean, we can
Okay.
do one vote.
Yeah, so far, all
I'll
we've
read it
changed is
back.
finance.
Right, and so basically where we've kind of wrapped around on the planning is just as it's shown there. Patty Reed being the new member of the committee, and then vacant being offered to the new member
Right.
from, I think, I've heard it called the inland cities.
So, quick question, and I just don't, clarification, does the executive committee review the items that come out of planning? Like, do they go through presentations and the same sort of things that we see in the planning committee? Or do they kind of, they're talking about?
Can, but it hasn't been.
Okay.
We go over the agenda, not go through all the presentations and
Okay.
everything, not do
That was-
everything,
So the reason I was asking is because if Patty was going to see that in the executive committee, then it may, so, but if she doesn't, then being in the planning committee would still give her insight
Yeah.
that could help her in other areas. So, yeah, that's fine.
Also, the planning committee is the budget, it's the budget committee.
I get what you're saying, but again, Patty's gonna be on 4 committees.
Yeah.
I would put her as an alternate on one of the 4.
And while I understand that, I would wait until we have we have new board members that might come on and say they don't want to be on any committee. And we can't force them. So when we have new board members join, we can revisit and say, okay, this is how we need to change it. But moving forward with an open slate,
Okay.
Well, the other option is the nominating committee could just not make a recommendation on that until we find out who the new board member is.
Well, she said she wanted to be on it.
I mean, at the end of the day, even though I'm chair of planning, I mean, my term is up in September. So, you know, if we need to make a change to that to get another more permanent member on the planning committee for someone who joins, there's gonna be an open spot coming, so, and I can make that happen sooner as opposed to later, again, just like I did on finance. So given that she has an interest and we have, and she's here and she says she wants to serve, I'd be willing to, I would prefer to, my preference would be to keep it the way it is, and then we can make some holes and changes later if we get someone else who really has a desire to do so.
And just if we can just follow up with her to see if there's anyone that she would prefer to be an alternate on. That's an easy fix.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
It's an easy fix.
Okay.
I will also mention the MPO committee is not listed here. The school transportation
Oh,
safety committee
yes.
meeting is not listed, and that will need a person.
Who was on that?
Me?
Oh, when you.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it lists-
yes,
it,
right.
it meets 3 times a year, and I have 2 more meetings. I will not be there for the November meeting or October, whenever they decide to do it. So we'll need someone new. That's why in my emails I commented though that, I know Commissioner Ladvala, he serves on that committee with through Forward Pinellas. And I think there's somebody else that was already, and
I
Commissioner,
serve
yeah,
on
you
it.
serve on it as well. So we have people there, we just won't have a PSTA specific representative. But it may be easy to name them also.
When
To
is
the-
when is the next meeting of that? In
I
spring?
think it's March,
Okay.
beginning of March, and then it's June right after school ends, and then they do it again like September, October, November,
That could
somewhere
be
in
a
that
good one
range.
for the mayor too, if he's interested.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is we already have 2 members two of our board members who are going to that meeting through other agencies.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a hardship for them to go and say, I have 2 hats today.
Yeah,
Well-
That's true.
But it's something I can offer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dave's on Forward Pinellas, I think, so.
I just don't know if he's on the school transportation safety committee meeting.
Yeah, okay.
He has been in the past.
Well, I'm gonna encourage him when I see
Yeah,
him,
he-
but
he
it'll be
is-
too late because we'll have this slate, but
He's on Forward Pinellas. Yeah,
Yeah.
already. Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to say there is another spot though for someone else who wants to serve that's not showing here. That we can.
Okay, and like you said, if you term out in September, then it opens up, and so if they change their mind, they can,
Yeah.
And if need be, that can happen sooner.
I don't know, I think you finish your chairman. If you're chairman, you finish your chairmanship, you know what I mean?
Are you talking about the planning committee?
Planning committee,
I understand, I'm fine either way.
yeah. I wouldn't want to see you step down when that's, you know.
My concern is more for a healthy operating organization
Yeah,
versus
No, I get what you're saying.
keeping the trains running.
So, you know, I'm okay with your suggestion, leaving Patty on that planning committee and then just leave the alternate vacant, and if the new person or some of the new people wanna come in, I think we're on consensus on that.
Yeah, and I think if we have if the new person really has a desire to be on planning, then it's an opportunity to go back to Commissioner Reed and say, hey, because you're on 3 other committees, how do you feel about us switching it? And she'd probably say that's fine.
She probably would.
So,
Okay.
but leave it the way it's presented on the screen, it makes sense.
Okay.
I do agree with that, but also, I don't want to belittle the idea of being an alternate. I think it holds just as much value as being on the committee.
That's why I'm willing to do it.
And so, yeah, I know for all my change, I noticed that I'm not on the legislative, justifiably from what my comments yesterday, and I'm fine with that.
I mean, so you
I don't
technically,
wait to be invited to the party, I just show up.
right, well, you technically don't get to vote if it's a full slate.
Right.
But these are all just recommendations to the board where you vote anyway, so it doesn't take away your say, and it keeps you in the conversation, which is the important part. Although, the reality is, the important part's learning the things that you learn in the committee meeting, not necessarily all the other stuff, so.
So to your comment about you not being on the legislative committee, actually on this handout, you are.
Yes, this handout was,
You're still on
Prior
here
to.
with Vala being the alternate. If
are you okay moving to alternate?
I'd be fine with that.
So also.
And I will show up at the meetings regardless, so you tell me what my position is.
Well, would you be okay switching with Commissioner Laval and you be the alternate and Commissioner Laval being the permanent?
Absolutely.
All right.
That is good, and that allows you to use he's an asset, at
Yeah.
least for 4 more years or so.
He said as long as he doesn't have to go to Tallahassee, he's fine.
Well, the bottom line is he can make a phone call to the governor's staff. He can make a phone call to the House staff, or the Senate staff. So, you know, I'm losing that ability because I've been gone 6 years, so there's so many new people that I still have some that I can make phone calls and open doors for, but not like he does. He's got many, many more, so.
Yeah.
So I think that's an asset to PSTA that we have those relationships, someone with those kind of relationships. So, thank you. I think that's an appropriate way to use that asset. So, thank you.
So you want to remain chair of nominating?
Well, it meets once a year.
Well, lately
Typically.
it's every month, but.
Well, in normal years, yeah, I can do that, that's fine.
So I think nominating is done.
Are you going to add
Add
Commissioner Reed?
Commissioner
Yes.
Well, yeah, she's on, yeah.
Well, and again, I wound up on a lot of these committees because there were holes where no one was willing to serve. So if somebody else wants nominating, I don't even need to be an alternate. Exactly. I mean, I can just, but I don't mind just packing up my toys and going home.
Well, had you been not a member, we wouldn't have had a quorum. So we have to be kind of.
Well, that's why. But I'm saying, like, so when we talk about like being on multiple committees, like I was on personnel when we had one, we didn't have anybody, right? So I just thought I'll do it, right? So we got to be careful with just looking at the count because you have to have people willing to step into that count, and sometimes you get people who are just willing to serve, and that's why they wind up being around. I also know Vince Cox said in his email that he was willing to roll down to alternate. I think in some of these, didn't he?
I think he sent a rescinded decision
Yeah.
of that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He changed it. Sorry. Oh, you got to read both emails.
I think we're good with nominating as it is. with adding-
Theoretically, the nominating committee wouldn't meet, it's not gonna meet for some.
But I would also
Things might change.
with the school transportation safety committee, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make the June meeting that they have, so I technically will only have one meeting left that I can attend. So if that's the case, and we have space for somebody else, it might, now might be the time as opposed to having the nominating committee meet again or whatnot to fill that space. to add someone to that. Or do you guys just wind up having it be vacant, while we have two other board members who serve on that committee in other capacities? You know, it won't be lost. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Do you have a recommendation on who your replacement might be? I mean, we can.
Well, my recommendation would be Commissioner Gao, because he's
But you're already
he's
on
already
there.
there, but he serves, he has the same sort of passion for the school system and
True.
school busing
True.
and trying to integrate transportation with the schools that I do. I don't know, I haven't had any other, I would have said Commissioner Flowers, as well, as someone who has that sort of passion for connecting our transit system to the schools. But otherwise, I haven't anybody else comes to mind as being driven, who's interested in that area.
Commissioner Gao, if you would become the PSTA appointee to that committee, are you on there as a Dunedin appointee, or how are you on there?
Dunedin appointee.
Oh.
Yeah, Dunedin, our commission has commission liaison positions, and I'm the commission liaison for the schools. And so I'm involved in all the school stuff as well. And through that, we've got a position at the Safety Transportation Committee.
And was that on the list for signing? I'm sorry, it was so long ago and I don't remember, and
It might not have
it might not have, so.
been on the list sent out to people.
Yeah.
I guess we look at the email, right? The
So-
email.
I didn't add that one,
Okay.
because at the
Yeah.
time,
So-
it's not
So
vacant.
kind of off the top of my head, my thought is you finish your term, and then when it's, because you'd only miss one meeting in the fall. No, you
I'm
wouldn't
gonna
even
miss the
that.
June, I'm probably gonna, there's a good chance I'm gonna miss the June.
Okay, so, but.
And then the fall one I will have termed out for, so I only have one meeting that I know I'm gonna be able to make the next one. And then I'm not,
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
on the fence for the June one,
And-
depending on,
and
they haven't set the date yet.
Is there a risk of that being vacant, that they have a quorum problem?
No,
No, okay.
no, they'll be fine. I mean, they'll miss me, sure, but it's gonna happen anyway. They'll probably get more done faster.
Well, it
So
sounds
it can
like,
be left open.
it sounds like we have time.
It can be left open, but it also, for the new members coming on, that
Yeah.
is a spot that if we need to
I
move,
will
if
definitely
we need to move
suggest-
those folks on sooner so that they're on something, I don't need my name on something, just need my name on something, so I can move on from that.
I think Commissioner Eggers maybe served on that committee at
He
one
did,
point.
we sat next to each other.
Okay, well, maybe he would be.
And maybe because it's not that frequent?
Yeah.
And it meets across the street from the county commission.
So
It's
it's
at
not
Forward
close to where he
Pinellas, so
lives.
it's
Oh, okay.
super easy.
So, that's maybe an option, maybe you could talk to him about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd like to have him in case it really disappoints me that he doesn't want to be engaged a little more than the board, so.
I was gonna also just point out to the committee that the Forward Pinellas is expanding their size to 19, or can't remember how many. And PSDA still has one appointee to that. It's my understanding that Commissioner, that has not happened yet. It has to wait on the governor to approve it. And WIT plan is trying to get the governor's office to approve of that expansion. But whenever that happens, it's my understanding from our appointee currently, which is Gina Driscoll, that she would rotate out of that PSTA position. That would be an open position to us to be on Fort Pinellas, the Fort Pinellas board. FYI. So I was thinking, well, that's gonna happen, Whit told me sometime in the springtime, he thought, or sometime a couple of months. So maybe tackle that with ZMPO, with the school at the same time. I don't know.
Okay.
And that way I can talk to Commissioner Eggers about it.
Okay. I think that's a good, I think it's a good idea. If you're okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay for now.
I go where I'm told.
Okay, would you like me to just summarize what I have, my notes show that we've gone through all these committees? So the executive committee has already been voted on. The finance committee, there is a switch with Commissioner Scott being the recommended to be the full member, and Commissioner Schulman being the alternate. For the planning committee, the recommendation is for Commissioner Reed to be the current member, and then the alternate to remain vacant and be considered for the new PSA board member. For the legislative committee, the recommendation is for Commissioner Gao to be moved to the alternate position, and Commissioner Latvala to be the permanent member. And then for the nominating committee, the recommendation is for Commissioner Reed to be added to the nominating committee there. And then finally, the recommendation for the MPO school transportation committee to solicit interest from Commissioner Eggers for that prior to June meeting.
The only thing I would add to that is just because it's not, it doesn't show on the screen, there's just to confirm that Commissioner Gao is going to remain on finance.
Oh, yeah, it's on here though.
He's
It's
remaining
on-
as chair,
Oh,
right?
It's on
yeah, I was looking at, sorry, it's on the page here, sorry, I was looking at the screen, not the page,
Yeah,
so
no, that was
I
the problem I
apologize.
was having
Okay.
as well.
I didn't even look down at the
And
page.
also for nominating, if there's somebody else who likes titles, I'm willing to give a chair of this wonderful, valuable committee.
Well, that's handled within the
That's
committee.
within our committee.
So next time we go to do that, you can step down or nominate somebody else.
Yeah. This could be your last committee meeting as chair, anyway.
Well, I'd be happy to take chair if you don't want to do it, so. If you want to do it now or do it later, it doesn't matter.
Well, we can do it when we get in the committee. Sounds good to me, thank you.
Do you want to
Make a motion.
vote on
Oh,
that?
So I move that we approve the slate as summarized by Mr. Miller.
Second.
Thank
You have a first and a second?
Oh, a question, before we do the second, the MPO one, I don't think needs to be caught in the motion because it's name specific. So what Brad just mentioned noted Commissioner Edwards, and I don't want that to be included.
Well, he said it was gonna stay the same and he's gonna have a conversation with Commissioner Eggers, so we're not changing
It's
the
gonna,
MPO
it's
at
gonna
all.
stay the same,
Okay, all right, okay. But I heard something completely different, but I wouldn't include that in the motion, but I'll.
We were not going to assign Commissioner Eggers until,
Correct.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
And we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it unanimously. Is there any other business for this committee?
Okay.
All right, and then, let's go with the adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed, turn the lights out.
Can I get
Thank you for the guy.
someone to fix
I'm gonna
this,
break this
or at
ring
least
one
call me to get it fixed?
Hey, Carlos? Commissioner Peters is having iPad